I'm here in a little Italian town called Pesaro, and it is the birthplace of Benelli, one of the oldest Italian motorcycle manufacturer, if not the oldest. I think they started in 1911, and this building behind me here was the original start or birthplace of Benelli, and it is now the museum. And I can't wait. I think they're going to open in about 5 minutes time, and I can't wait to see what kind of gems lurk behind these doors and what kind of amazing machines, the racing pedigree and restored and unrestored motorcycles are behind these doors. Can't wait to get inside. Finally entering the Benelli Museum in the birthplace where it all started. And a quick history is that Teresa Benelli, after losing her husband in 1898, then invested all her family's money in 1911 into a motorcycle company so that her 6 sons could have work. Initially, 5 of the sons started working with 6 other employees. Tonino, the youngest son, was too young to work. And here in the foyer you can see books, and at the back merchandise, photographs, black and whites of the races of the day. Here are all the trophies, and on top you see the 6 sons: Giuseppe, Giovanni, Francesco, Filippo, Domenico and Antonio, known as Tonino. And here all the trophies and some engines, at the back some helmets, and in front most probably the last designed true Italian Benelli, which was the Tornado 3-cylinder. And why I say the last design, because in 2007 it was sold to the Chinese. Here you have an iconic bike, the Benelli Sei. As you saw, the 6 pipes at the back. Sei is Italian word for 6. 750 Sei, 750cc Sei, 6-cylinder Benelli, very iconic, from the 80s, produced into the 90s. Here you see the 6-header pipes, telling you it's a transversely mounted straight 6-cylinder. Initially produced as a 750cc and later as a 900cc. Very, very iconic bike in history in the foyer. And then you have the last true Italian design in the Tornado. Here, going forward, you see really cool 2 pictures, father and son. On the right you have Graziano Rossi wheeling, and he was racing on the Morbidelli, which had ties to Benelli and Motobi. And next to him, his son Valentino Rossi wheeling in the same position, both number 46. Going closer, you have helmets, pudding helmets from the 20s, 30s and 40s, initially made out of wood, late out of aluminium with cork lining inside. Here you have some later ones, the aluminium ones, and on top you have those leather caps, if you want to call it, strapped onto your head, which was no protection. Here you have oil paintings of the races of the day. Up on top you have black and whites. That one on top, actually, Mike Hailwood. Yes, Mike Hailwood did not just race for Ducati, he also raced for Benelli. Then you have Jarno Saarinen, also a very famous racer. There's a whole bunch of famous racers that raced for this Italian mark, the oldest of all Italian motorcycle manufacturers. Here's a bronze bust of the youngest son who became a racer, which is Tonino Benelli. Entering into Hall 1, and you can immediately see there is gems by the dozens. Starting off over here on the left, you have a 1925 300cc. Next to that, another 1925 300cc. That silver and black one is a 1925 125cc. Then a 1928 147cc, 1928 172cc, a 1928 172cc. Those are really early bikes. Next up here in the corner, you have a period correct workshop display. Look at the attention to detail, even the overalls, the unrestored bike on the bench, all the old spanners and tools. Really phenomenal sight. And then you have some unrestored bikes, stunning. 1931 175. Next to that, 1931 175 with sidecar. As you can see, look at that old patina, even matching suitcases, period appropriate. Super cool. That tells such an awesome story. 1932 175 Turismo. The blue one is a 32 175 Sport. The black one behind that is a 1933 175 Sport. As you can see, the gear lever up on top next to the petrol tank. Then you have a 1933 175 Monza. On that side here, we have a 1934 220 Turismo, which is actually a 250cc, a 34 220 Sport, and the next one, the black one, is a 500cc, a Turismo of 1935. Then you have a 37 250 Sport in red. Behind that, you have another 500 Turismo of 1936. Then a 1938 500 Turismo, and the red one being a 1937 500 Sport. And here in the corner, you have a 1937 Benelli single-cylinder monocilindrico, a 4-stroke 250cc. As you can see, no cam belts, gears all the way to the top, and if you turn it around, you can actually see that the valves are external, they're exposed. And if you turn that, you can actually see the gears turn all the way to the top, and spinning it around again, you can see the valves move externally. Next to that, you have a 1939 4-cylinder which is quattro cilindri con compressore, which means with compressor, and it's a 250cc 4-cylinder inline 4. Here we have another row of motorcycles, a 1937 250cc Turismo, a 38 250 Sport, then a 37 250 Turismo in black, a 39 500 Sport, a 1940 500 VLC, and another 1940 500 VTA. In the corner over there is another motor, and that's from 1940, an air-cooled single, a monocilindrico, and as you can see, single from the 500 VTA. Next up, we have Benelli's contribution to the war effort. This first bike here is a 1937 utility motorcycle, a 500cc. Next to that is a 1937 500cc Militare. It's a 493cc 4-stroke. Next to that is another 1940 500 VLM Biposta for 2-seater, also a 493cc 4-stroke. Depicted on the wall at the back of this is the production facility of the time with the mass-produced war effort, all the utility vehicles standing in front of it. Now, this is a look around Hall 1 with all the gems displayed, super stunning and cool. And here you have an interactive display of old black and white photos of the Benelli international launches, as well as bike shows, the EICMA of the day, if you want to call it. Going through to Hall 2, it is guarded by two Benelli 500cc police bikes from the 1980s, either side. Next to this is the row of the very iconic Says, the 6-cylinder. With the fairing, you'll see the 900s. Without the fairing are the 750s. And on the back wall over here, you have again in black and white the production facility of the time. Gives you an idea what the production looked like. Here you have a row of bikes, a 125 Custom, Next to that, a 125 Sport, 125 2C SE, 125 Turismo, a 250C, 252 CSE, and a 500 LS before the police bike again. Looking at the iconic Says again, first up with a fairing and 900 Say, as you can see the blue and white one. You can see the 6-header pipes. Without the fairing, that's a 750 Say. Here another 750, and next to it in between here's actually a 4-cylinder. But have a look at those 6-header pipes coming out that transverse inline 6-cylinder. Stunning. And I especially love the 6 pipes out the back. And here is another very iconic logo for Benelli, depicted on the front mudguard, and that is the Leoncino. Leoncino is Italian for lion cub, and that became a model range that was most probably one of the most iconic as well in the range. Here the story starts after World War II. There was no money and no transport, and these two first bikes over here were produced in 1949, and they were called the Letizia. Very, very simple motorcycles, 98cc 2-stroke. So simple, cheap became affordable transport. Now that evolved into the Leoncino, the Lion Cub range, and they were produced for over a decade, and over 45,000 units were produced in total. And if you look on top of the trailer, you have the Leoncino Sport, and behind that the Galenato. Looking down here, they call this the Leoncino Strada, so the Lion Cub alley or street. Starting off the models here, you have a 1952, a 54, a 56, and at the back a 1958. The one in front is a 1956 with a red and white tank, the 55 in front, a 54 250cc with a colorful logo. The black and red tank is a 58, and a 1956 125cc, and the blue one at the back is a 1957 125cc. And as you can see, they all have this Leoncino Lion Cub on the front mudguard, looking back at the Leoncino Strada. And on the other side, you even have the Leoncino Cross, which is the Leoncino Scrambler. Now, an interesting fact about these bikes, they all have a vertical cylinder in them. And one of the brothers that started a breakaway company called Motobi, but that, however, ended in 1962 when there was a motorcycle crisis, so the two companies, Motobi and Benelli, merged again and became one. Now, as you can see, the silver and red bike is slightly different. This motor is lying in a horizontal plane. The badging is still Benelli, but a horizontal motor tells you it's a Motobi design. Now, looking at all these scramblers in front, vertical, vertical, horizontal, that's a Motobi. When the motor's in a vertical, vertical, and the last two are also vertical plane, those are Benelli designs. And again, stunning how the wallpaper shows the original factory and the production line. Gives you an idea how production was back in the day. Here are some scooters they produced for 10 years, over 10 years, 85 different types of scooters. Up on top, you have the Motorella. Over 200,000 of these were produced. And the red front in front is a little sport scooter. Some more scooters as you go along. And here we have another super interesting story. Benelli actually produced 3 motor cars under the brand name BBC. Only 3 prototypes were produced. Here is a book with the car on the cover and the whole story of that. And this yellow one here in this museum is actually the pickup version. As mentioned, only 3 prototypes were built. But with the fallout with Fiat, they never went into production. And here against the wall is a rolling chassis layout, and it's fantastic and rich history. The poster on the wall next to it over here is the car that they made, and that is on display in another museum. And there in the back you can see the Leoncino alley, the scramblers down that side, followed by all the scooters all the way down to here where the monkey bikes are. Here is a monkey bike, and this monkey bike actually has a sidecar. I have in the meantime also managed to get myself a Benelli monkey bike for the Route 21 collection. Having a look around this upstairs, the entire hall is dedicated to one of the brothers that started Motobi and the Benelli and Motobi racing efforts. And as mentioned, with a crisis in 1962, when the motorcycle industry was struggling, Motobi and Benelli merged again and became one company. Here you can see some of the Motobi factory race bikes. Stunning in this display. They must be absolutely priceless, these things. These first four here, 3 black ones with the Motobi, the red one without the fairing, also Motobi. Here is a joint venture between Motobi and Morbidelli. And here you have the Benelli racer, this white and blue one. Just having a look around some of the race bikes, privateer bikes and street racers. Here you have a street racer with just a flat number board in front, very early days. And here you have the Benelli signs and logos as they changed through the decades. Here is the Motobi with the Pesaro name, part of the logo, Benelli as we know it today, and these are the older logos. Going downstairs again, back to the second hall, you have 3 halls. The first one, this being the second one, and upstairs, here is your row of iconic Seis, the 6 cylinders. Looking around the corner, there's your Leoncino, Strada, and your scramblers on the left. Here are some old signage, self signage and pumps. You have this stunning mural of the racers push starting their bikes, and here another look at the production line back in the early days. I hope you enjoyed this tour around the Benelli Museum. It is the second museum we've done now on our Italy trip. The first one being Ducati, this the Benelli Museum. Benelli is the oldest Italian motorcycle manufacturer. Last year, 2021, they celebrated 110 years. Factory was founded in 1911. Unbelievable racing history, unbelievable bikes, from scooters to super bikes, military vehicles, unbelievable. The brother breakaway Motobi, fantastic gems in here. I hope you enjoyed this with me, and one day I will review the Benelli I have in my collection, in the Route 21 collection. I have the Benelli Tornado LE 900 3, which is 900 900 3-cylinder, and the LE for limited edition. Only 150 made. I have number 52. We will review that in another episode, but for now on the Italy tour, I hope you enjoyed the second museum of Benelli. We couldn't resist but adding some merchandise for our collection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, and if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button to help me build this channel.